Right. Okay, cool. Thank you everyone for showing up on a Saturday morning. I am working mostly from Bangalore, so I'll appreciate this more because I stay in a notorious place in Bangalore which is known for its traffic. So it's odd to see people showing. Yes, I'm from Sarjapur. I'm not proud of it. So all right. So a little bit about me. I am, as Jaydeep introduced, I'm working as a principal SRE at One2N. Mostly have been working in the infrastructure domain for around 20 years. Have been, have dealt with all kinds of data center, cloud related stuff. So basically, the guy who would provision the infra, manage it, automate it, and all of that, right? And this is a Cursor Meetup, and we are talking about AI-enabled SRE practices. Where does Cursor fit in? So Cursor is mostly our go-to tool for building these tool chains. So whatever the cool things that Nilesh and Ankit spoke about using Cursor the right way, we are using it, but this is the product of that. Right? So let's start. Just a show of hands, how many of you know the term SRE? All right, good, great, a lot of people. Just for a refresher for those who have who are new to the domain, we'll just talk about simple things that an SRE does. Site reliability engineering, that's the full form. We make your applications run reliably in production. Simple areas like monitoring, stuff that we ensure that alerts are put in place so that if stuff breaks, you come to know about it. Incident response, stuff breaks, what do you do about it? Capacity planning. Tomorrow there is a big billion day sale, how you plan for it, right? So basically, an SRE bridges the gap between it works on my machine, it works for millions of users. This is where we go. A simple example, one of the things that an SRE would do is rate limiting to ensure business continuity. And a prime example of this was what happened right now, right? So we try to prevent these situations, right? So let's start. What is the agenda? Like this is because it's a lightning talk, I'll just move a little fast. 3 stages: problem, challenges, solution, right? So we are working with multiple customers, and when you work with customers in a reliability domain, one of the things that you see is we don't have the right practices in place. Please help us fix them, right? And those practices manifest themselves as symptoms like alert fatigue, people getting too many alerts, not able to handle them, unchecked incidents, things fail, you don't come to know about it, your customer tells you something has failed, right? Desensitized teams who have got so many alerts, who are so who have been woken up so many times at 3 a.m. that they are like, I'm so numb that I don't even have the motivation to fix things, and that leads to not my problem sprawl. People start blaming each other. So eventually, this not doing SRE the right way impacts your company culture also. The challenges that led to this, that actually makes this harder to fix is that we have a legacy monitoring setup at most organizations. Not everyone embraces the shiny new tech, and it's hard to identify. Like there's so much, the entire room is a mess. Where do I start? Right? The setup was simple, nothing fancy. 3-tier web app. They had embedded SRE teams. They had multiple application teams. Each team had their own SRE teams and a central infrastructure team that provisioned the stuff. Right? Nothing fancy. So what was the state of SRE? What was the mess, right? First was ClickOps based alert setup, as in people went and then they went to a shiny new UI, clicked, set an alert, and that's it. That led to non-standard alert namings. For example, one team sets an alert as high memory alert. Another one sets as memory is critical. Same alert, different naming, right? They were using Slack and PagerDuty. PagerDuty is an incident management tool. But interestingly, most organizations are very slow to adapt incident management from our experience. It's surprising, but that is the case. So a lot of alerts were just, these are alerts that were created pre-PagerDuty era, so they'll go to Slack. These are after PagerDuty, they'll go to PagerDuty. So a mix. So you don't have one place which tells you that this is where your alerts land. Runbooks are the documents that you use to fix problems after you get an alert. Outdated runbooks, not kept updated, and all of that. And no good RCA practices. RCA is like incident occurs. Now you have to sort of document those learnings and ensure that it doesn't happen again. It is okay for systems to fail, but they should fail in newer ways so that as an SRE, the sadistic life that you live keeps on getting some entertainment, right? And no feedback loop from the RCA, because an RCA which says that okay, we need to fix this but doesn't get into the product roadmap is useless, right? So imagine we are in a pre-SRE, pre-AI era, right? What would you do? you see that this is, a culture problem, this is a process problem, you'll try to fix this, right? You'll just say, we'll fix the process. That's where it ends. This is a pre-AI proposal. Then there is a post-AI delusion also. That I'll take AI, it will fix everything. It will clean up my trash, it will predict my incidents, it will, ensure that tomorrow doodh wala nahi aayega, to doodh bhi leke aayega. It will do everything, essentially. And the problem is that you need to understand that AI is a bridge. It's a tool. It's like eventually, like most of the folks we are sitting in this room, we do good prompt engineering, we make good API calls, we write better agents, right? But essentially, to boil it down, you are making API calls, right? Let's not, after a point, you shouldn't glorify it beyond what it is. It's a means. Business in the end, and you shouldn't go for the shiniest tools that are available. We try to convey this, like we face this on a day-to-day basis. A lot of customers having issues and blindsided by the fact that AI is going to solve everything, right? They want this. They want AI-enabled SRE practice, right? We want to give them AI-enabled SRE practice. Same thing, different tone makes a big difference, right? Where do you begin, right? So the important thing is that you do not, and all of this gyan will stop, we'll get into the meat just like this is the last slide, right? Where we start the actual part. So everyone says that, if a process is broken, we have to fix it, we shouldn't be automating it. Valid. This is the opinion that you have. But the important thing is not to focus on do not automate. The important thing is to focus on that the process is broken. Once you identify that the process is broken, you have to also have that empathy that this is worth fixing, right? This world is worth saving, right? And it is okay to have temporary fixes. Everyone says that, this is our temporary fix, we'll not put it, we'll just have, permanent fix in place which never comes in, right? You should have the practicality to deploy temporary fixes and the integrity to accept that there is nothing more permanent than a temporary fix. Right? So you need to accept that. But these are the bandages, right? But you have to prioritize them. You cannot fix everything, but you have to fix something. You have to start somewhere. Your house should be clean enough. It shouldn't be sparkling clean, but it should be clean enough to be livable. Right? So this is where we started working with our customers to build some workarounds with AI. Right? First one, inconsistent alert naming. Right? This was the lowest hanging fruit. And this could have been very hard before LLMs. This is very simple now. The problem is that inconsistent alert naming across teams. Different teams, they're like, I like critical, I like high. Like low, medium, high, P0, P1, P2, critical warning error, different conventions. If we had manual effort, a lot of things would have been categorized. What was the AI solution, right? If an alert comes, just give it to, OpenAI and tell it, categorize it. The categories become central. The namings can be anything. So they did that. High memory and memory is critical are the same. The result is that we get standard categories without human toil. So now yesterday I got 50 memory related alerts. You don't say 30 high memory, 20 critical alerts. Okay, this is one cleanup. This helps. The second challenge, missing runbooks, right? No runbooks and outdated runbooks are there. What is the manual fix for this? You'll see this pattern, right? Everything that can be solved by AI can be solved by a person, by a human doing the drudgery work for many days. So if that is the case, it is worth automating. The AI solution was that when we get an alert, what we used to do is that they had a Confluence wiki. Confluence wiki exposes an API. So we used to check what are the applicable alerts. Runbooks. It does not matter if the runbooks are outdated. Are they applicable or not? That was the aim. You got a memory alert, because every memory alerts, resolution is different. Sometimes it's restart the process. Sometimes it's just, escalate to this team and all of that. So we used to check applicable runbooks, and all of this, the interface for this was Slack. Because when an alert used to come, a Slack thread starts and a bot will just say applicable runbooks A, B, C. Simple. The cool part is that as soon as you start saying that these runbooks are applicable, you start identifying that these are the top runbooks that you use. So if you have 100 runbooks, and if you know that you are always, like on a weekly basis, you're always using 13 to 14 of them, these are the ones you need to fix. Do not fix all your runbooks. Do not clean your entire house, right? So, and we also had this NARC put in place. if an alert does not have a runbook, it used to say that this was wipe debug 3 times in the last 10 days. Like thoda wo आना चाहिए, like थोड़ा ego पे ठेस आना चाहिए. That essentially it. You would feel bad. And that led to runbook suggestions and cleanup prioritization. Nothing is clean right now, but at least we were able to say what needs to be clean, right? That backlog started building up. The third thing was RCMS, right? What is the, everyone who has done a bit of, SRE or has been a developer who has been in incident management, they've written an RCA. If I were to ask you what is the format of an RCA, will I get a standard answer? No, right? Every organization has their own way of looking at it, right? So no RCAs, RCAs written in different formats and lost in Slack threads, right? Somewhere it's there. Slack threads are also great RCAs, right? Again, a great problem to be solved by AI. The manual effort would have been, we should standardize our templates and we should do everything. The AI solution was create a template, and as in the only ask we told that SRE teams that just say at whatever bot name is that, just say resolved, and you'll be, that was a trigger for our backend. It used to ask 3-4 questions like what was the timeline, what was the impact, and the human is free to answer in any language, right? They, like, people were saying like I'll put in a voice note. It was too far fetched, but you could also transcribe it if people want to do that, right? That led to natural language responses getting converted into RCA format, because an LLM can definitely patch it in the backend. That is easy for it to do, right? And the good part is that we took the RCAs and we also gave the we are mostly using we are using open outer through which we are using simple models. When it came to categorizing RCAs, we used simple models like we used DeepSeek, simple stuff, right? Because this is just English categorization. But when it comes to doing alert correlation, you can use more heavier models for which you have to shell out more money, right? So we started categorizing RCAs as low, medium, high, right? So the first thing is that people started writing RCAs. The second thing is that people started becoming aware that the RCAs I have written are of low quality. And when an RCA is of low quality, you say this is a best practice RCA. And the best part is that something that we are surprised that organizations don't do is your RCAs are mutable. You can go in the past and fix them. It's okay. It's okay to look at your past RCAs and say, oh, this does not have link to this dashboard, add it, big deal, right? The last thing that was there was no MTTR tracking, which means that MTTR is mean time to recover, right? After an alert occurred, how much time did you take to resolve the situation, right? The aim was not to reduce MTTR initially. The aim was to know what is the MTTR, right? Nobody knew this. And the implementation would have led, you need to do 100 things to do. You try to approach this as a science problem that has to be done in this way. This is MTDD, MTTR, all those kinds of acronyms would come into place. We did this very hacky solution. Slack thread starts, Slack threads end, that is your MTTR. Right? Some might say, no, this is not perfect. What if I reply 2 hours later? Right? What if I reply? It's okay. And the aim is not to achieve perfection. It is to know that this practice is in place. We came to know some baseline metrics, some like very basic baseline metrics. Is it hacky? Yes. But this is more art than science, right? So we did all of this. Now one might say that you have used AI and you have put in a lot of bandages. Yes, we did that. But we also have to accept what AI solved here. It did pattern recognition in unstructured alert naming. Like, you will not pay a human to do this, right? It took human RCA discussions and converted them into standard formats. Your knowledge base started building, right? It audited RCAs and audited runbook quality also, right? And in the end, if you see, we are creating a foundation of standardization so that tomorrow when an AI agent comes in, when you take that cool AI agent, you are feeding it with the right data, right? You are making AI clean up the mess so that it can be fed to another AI which gets a clean setup. You identified recurring issues without manual tracking, right? What it did not solve. And in this case, AI prompted engineers instead of engineers prompting AI, right? We understood that our alert naming conventions are broken, and on the side we are like, let us start fixing this. So you can only do these things in peacetime. People started looking at AI generated runbooks and like, okay, this is the right way to write, and started doing that. RCS started getting more disciplined because people realized that, oh, I just have to think in this format. I don't have to do much. So it started becoming more, it started becoming more predictable. The approach became more predictable. Essentially, by doing this, we are sort of stone souping the solution. You heard that stone soup story, right? That you put stones in the water and but add this, add this, add this. So we essentially started fixing fundamental reliability engineering practices. What was the path ahead? This was a bandage, and bandages are meant to be ripped off. And the aim was to ensure that tomorrow, like I have ripped off one bandage, tomorrow don't create a mess and bring me again, right? You have to reduce the reliance on bandages. And reduce is not same as eliminate. You should reduce, you should not eliminate. Use bandages, it is okay. And sometimes the important thing is sometimes you need to hold the fort and bolster it. You need to do both. You just don't need to hold a broken fort, right? And these are the questions. Like if you have, if you are implementing SRE practices in your organization, ask yourself these things. What is your current workflow, right? How many alerts lack Runbook or have standard naming conventions? Simple thing, like put in an alert to alert you if an alert is fired which does not have a Runbook link. It's pretty easy, right? Audit your alert, see if it has a Runbook link or not. Are you automating solution or are you automating chaos? Right? Just don't start automating stuff, right? It's like that saying, right? Just don't do something, stand there. Think about what you want to do. And what would you clean enough to get what would clean enough reliability look for your team? And essentially, when you want to bring that tool that you want to play with in AI, right? What is the foundation you want it to rest on? You want to give it a good foundation or a bad foundation? And essentially, this is the means or it's an end, right? Resume-driven development karna hai, problem solve karna hai. Essentially, that's what you're saying. And we have what it takes. I mean, this is the end of the talk. We have done this across multiple customers. We've gone from ambiguity to clarity with automation and AI. AI is a part of that automation. AI is not the only thing. And we have actionable insights on what to live with. There are things that you have to live with. If a legacy software is making you $1 million, let it be. It's okay. It's not a problem. And what to permanently fix. And that's it.